Good morning, wrestling fans, and welcome to PWR Today, Friday morning, November 5th, 2021. The man they call Meathead, Matthew Thomas. We're still here. We survived the cuts. Matthew, how are you feeling making the cut?
Oh, you cut yourself too?
Well, I've got this big cut on my shoulder, but, we survived the cuts.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. Well, congratulations. I'm pretty happy about that.
And PWR, we cut for budgetary reasons, every 6 months too. So PWR Today, luckily, the three of us still make the cut every week.
Yeah, that's why you haven't heard from Jimmy recently.
Jimmy, right. Jimmy the intern. Little Jimmy is what we used to call him. So, but we've kind of buried the lead here. We're going to talk about the sponsor, and we'll get right into it. Matthew, who sponsors the program?
Well, hey, if maybe you're getting ready for next summer and you want some sleeveless shirts, what you can do is you can take a pair of scissors and cut your collar and elbow shirts and make you some sleeveless collar and elbow shirts.
Cut it
out. All right, Uncle Joey. Head on over to collarandelbowbrand.com. Enter promo code Linda K. Save yourself 10% that you could potentially use to buy scissors with, or maybe a woodchuck puppet.
Folks, yesterday was another we wish you all the best in your future endeavors day. 18 talents released from the WWE, and we're going to break it down for you right now before we get ready for Smackdown and Rampage. Matthew, did you know that these were coming?
I'd heard murmurings, but here's what's so interesting.
Did it sound like in South Park where they go rabble, 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 rabble?
Well, as I was bathing myself yesterday morning, I was thinking to myself, you know what? The AEW pay-per-view is coming up, and I probably need to acquire some AEW talent, but I didn't know exactly what I should do, and that path got a little bit clearer yesterday.
All right, before we get into the talents, let's talk PWR draft for 2021. You will be dropping one of the released talents and picking up who?
I hereby proclaim to drop Karrion Kross and pick up Bryan Danielson. That's right. AEW this time around is not going to be a Meathead and Linda party. Matthew's going to get in on some of that action.
Well, there ain't no party like a Meathead Linda party because a Meathead and Linda party don't stop. All right. Well, you guys heard it first here Friday morning that Matthew Thomas has picked up Bryan Danielson, and he'll be dropping one of 18 names released from the WWE. That being Karrion Kross, Scarlett Boudreaux, B-Fab. B-Fab is on unemployment. Grand Metalik, Lince Dorado, Eva Marie, Keith Lee, Mia Yim, Nia Jax, Harry Smith, Oni Larkin, Frankie Monet, Ember Moon, Trey Baxter, Jessica Mia, Jeet Rama, Zendaya Ramier, and Katrina Cortez. There's some big names in there. Obviously, there's some names that maybe we haven't heard in a while or didn't even know were with the company.
Did you say they dropped Linda Ronstadt?
Linda Ronstadt, yeah, she was singing in the rain or crying in the rain.
Oh my goodness! Like they really didn't utilize her properly.
Yeah, it was weird. So here's the big names: Karrion Kross, two-time NXT champion, had that belt this year. Also, one-time NXT champion and North American champion Keith Lee, Bearcat Lee. Big push for Bearcat Lee that went absolutely nowhere. Here's another name that you didn't even know was with the company, Harry Smith, otherwise known as Harry Smith Jr., the British Bulldog's son. Frankie Monet was brought on. She had this nice big beginning. I was waiting for the dog to poop on stage. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe the dog pooped right as Johnny Ace was walking by. Hey, you know what? That dog crapped right there and I stepped on it. Your future endeavored.
It's possible.
Nia Jax.
Yeah.
Nia Jax, after her little tryst with Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax is gone.
Yeah.
The big push for Eva Marie and the Evolution, gone. Along with Keith Lee is, I don't know if they're married or they're just engaged or they're just together, but Mia Yim, she was part of Retribution. Oni Lorcan had formerly been a tag team champion. Ember Moon had come back. She had retired and came back. Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado were the Lucha House Party. We saw one of the other members of Lucha House Party on Wednesday night on Dynamite. Matthew Thomas, what happened here?
I don't know, but what really gets me is the amount of up-and-coming future stars that had that moniker. that were in this. Keith Lee and Karrion Kross. I mean, you were just waiting for, Karrion Kross was in the middle of, they had some strange wardrobe stuff, but he was running over people on Raw. They were mainly having him squash people on Raw. You had their repackaging of Keith Lee, definitely somebody that was looking to be a main player there that you could, easily see, in that title picture, sometimes in the near future. That's really what gets me about this round is it's not, and for lack of a better term, it's not these toys that maybe gotten a little bit old and they're tired of playing with. It is people that were really in the midst of, a push. You look at BFAB just called up to SmackDown. Somebody just called up to the main roster. Frankie Monet had not been there for long at all. And you really felt like, okay, she's somebody that you don't associate her necessarily with the old guard of NXT. That's somebody they can really use on that, new version. It just leaves you scratching your head.
I wonder, because one of my major complaints with Raw specifically, SmackDown not as much, but Raw has 3 hours. And what did I say NXT does better that Raw than SmackDown do? They have shorter segments, more
multiple unique segments, absolutely.
When you cut out 18 talents, Keith Lee, Karrion Kross, Lince Dorado, Grand Metalik, those guys specifically, I believe, were on Raw.
Yeah.
Now you're having less talents to cover 3 hours.
Yeah, and you're back to, all right, let's see these people in segment 1, segment 2, and the Raw formula of, all right, let's come up and we don't have a scheduled main event. So let's establish the main event in the opening promo, and then what we'll do, we'll cut to multiple backstage segments to make sure that's the main event, and then we'll have the main event to close the show. That's the formula, and now you've got less people to stretch out over 3 hours.
Maybe they're offering too much to get into the company as far as base pay. Maybe if they ask guys to take pay cuts. I mean, I know wrestlers probably aren't going to do it, but do they come back for less money? Because all these cuts, according to talent relations head John Laurinaitis, were budget cuts. Yeah. That's what they're saying. They're budget cuts. So one of these released talents or somebody that's on the inside that gets out to the dirt sheets said that John Laurinaitis sent an email, and these were all budget cuts.
And I mean, yeah, and I don't know. I don't pour over the financials, but one would like to think hopefully this year compared to last year, they're touring, and of course there's added expenses, with being on the road, but there's gates, there's added revenue there. So you would like to think some of that would be able to offset and, give you some money that you're selling from tickets and merch at arenas.
Tickets and merchandise. Yep.
Yeah. But man,
are they still paying for the Thunderdome?
Yeah. Who knows?
I mean, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar company, right?
Yeah.
Are they again attending to get NBC Universal to purchase them?
Yeah. I mean, it is. It looks more and more like. I mean, this has gone on multiple times throughout the year, and it just each cut seems like you're scratching your head a little bit more and more. And this one is probably the most confusing to me because you cut a lot of what a lot of people are looking at as your future main event talent.
I still don't get it. I really don't get it. Are we going to have more 24/7 segments now?
They're having difficulty enough filling those 3 hours, and you look at it, and it's what NXT does well. It's what AEW does very well too. I mean, they've got a loaded roster, and you've got your individual distinctive. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
We've only got a few more minutes. Try to get that word out.
Segments where, and that makes your mid card feel more important. And WWE has such a clearly defined mid card because it's basically what is not top of hour 1, top of hour 3, or end the show.
Right, top of show, and the first hour to second hour, and the second hour to third hour and top of the show, and in the main event. And to be honest, that 11:05 segment or 10:05 if you're in Central, that is not your main event.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah. And I mean, you really look at the WWE roster as far as, who's young and upcoming that they're elevating in that segment. Austin Theory right now, I think that's an example.
Austin Theory and Matt Riddle. I mean,
yeah. But
Matt Riddle can still be considered young and up and coming.
Yeah.
But he is getting the push of a career right now.
Yeah. But I'm scratching my head otherwise.
So that leads to the next question. I know we just had a draft a month ago. Is it time to scrap the draft and have talents perform on both shows?
That's always been the case. I think that's always been preferable to a brand split. The only time that I could have made a case for the brand split was when you had your distinct brand pay-per-views, and you had that's. I think that era was probably the best for the brand split because you could elevate some mid-card feuds and give them their own pay-per-view match that you otherwise, wouldn't have gotten. But we're not in that era anymore. You've got separate brands, but you're still your middle of the card stuff is still not really getting a proper blow off. It's more or less there to fill time. And what we have, so much in the mid card now, Meathead, is just the same guys wrestling each other week to week. I think back to 06-ish, 07-ish when you had the brand split, and one from SmackDown sticks out. It was Jamie Noble and was it Chuck Palumbo, I think? And
Noble and Palumbo? No, Palumbo was with Gunn when they were doing Billy and Chuck.
Yeah, but this was after. This was 06. You actually had them feuding. You had those two feuding, and you got development in that feud each week. Now, this era, we would just basically see those two wrestle each week. Not a feud, not anything that you're, trying to hold off for a match, but basically just kind of the same, 50-50 booking with the wrestling day, week in and week out.
Yeah, man, I tell you, I can't right now. If it wasn't so close to Thanksgiving, I would say, you know what? Thanksgiving has been now tradition in the last couple of years where they go brand against brand, the red versus the blue. And I say merge belts.
Yeah. No, 100%. And that would be such a good buy-in because honestly, the way that you've got Survivor Series in the last several years, you got title champion versus champion with no real stakes. I mean, yeah, it's bragging rights. It's quintessentially the old pay-per-view bragging rights is what you're doing.
It is bragging rights. It's literally bragging rights.
You go back to Survivor Series, which is such a fondly held memory for so many of us. One of your big four that just it feels watered down in recent years.
Right, and there is no December pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So how do we go week to week with nothing to build towards? I mean, yes, the first pay-per-view in January is on day one, so it's a Usos pay-per-view, I guess.
Or is that where we get New Day versus Usos and Roman, because you're going to have Roman and Big E at Survivor Series, and it's going to be a run-in.
That's a big match, and that's a match that could be at day one.
Yep, and then you're gonna, man. I hope it's not that predictable. Not that I wouldn't mind seeing it, but I just hope it's not.
I wouldn't mind seeing it, but yeah, it's going to be. I mean, that's a great call. Boy, oh boy, I think we talked about it either yesterday morning or the morning before, but NXT, honestly, these new talents should be allowed to come up and be the job talent, and maybe the hint or hope that they get a win on the big brand, then go back down to NXT.
Yeah. Something's. They need to do something, man, because it's just you've got more weekly TV than you've ever had with the WWE, and in a lot of cases, just it feels so much thinner than it has.
The old saying, "Steel strengthens steel," or "Steel sharpens steel."
Uh-huh.
I know that they say that in NXT they're using it to launch a new brand and they're training each other and they got trainers down there. Don't you think that wrestling would a saltier veteran, an older person who's done this job forever, going up to the Raw or SmackDown brand would be better for a young talent than wrestling, other brand new talents and then have them produce or tell you what you did right or wrong?
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
I think that's really what's missing, because if you think back, Attitude Era, Aggressive Era.
And let's be honest, there's so much of the talk of NXT getting people ready for, WWE style and this, that, and the other with the cameras and whatnot. But aren't you kind of in a bubble there in that NXT audience? I mean, more or less, you've got.
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, you've got so many people, and not even about the talent there, but just the audience. You've got so many of the same people week in and week out, and you're working right, and you've got a set of parents that can influence the whole crowd's reaction to the tag team. How much you're not really working in front of a different environment. So
I'm saying, get them out on the road, get them working with a veteran, and then bring them back and do the regular TV show.
Yeah.
I mean, WWE, I know you're listening. This, you might have to pay a little bit for the flights, but this is so much more worth it.
Yeah. And when they come back, you have them kind of like, oh, this is what I did on my vacation, my summer vacation. I went to the main roster and I did this. And
right. No, you have them come back, and I know you're joking, but you have them come back and we watch the match back.
Well, and they could debrief with who's that dude who's always talking about a teachable moment? You could have him.
Right. Matthew Thomas, I don't know, man. It's funny how it goes, but hey, that's why we're doing what we do, and that's why they do what we do. The inevitable question has to be asked next, and I didn't want to ask it because it's the same question everybody asks anytime this happens. Look at the list again, and I'll run it down one more time. Yeah. Who comes to AEW? I'm going to run down the list one more time. Ready?
Yep.
Karrion Kross, Scarlett Boudreaux, B-Fab, Brianna Brandy, Grand Metalik, Lince Dorado, Eva Marie, Keith Lee, Mia Yim, Nia Jax, Harry Smith, Oni Larkin, Frankie Monet, Ember Moon, Trey Baxter, Jessica Mia, Jeet Rama, Zadia Ramir, and Katrina Cortez. Give me two names.
AEW Frankie Monet. And I think they've got to be somewhat cautious just because of where in the world you'd put people, but I think they make a play for Keith Lee.
Okay. I think the Keith Lee play is the best one. Here's why. We mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, how the AEW top of the card is completely white.
Yeah.
Get Keith Lee up there, let him mix it up, and let him be in the mix, and I think he could be top card. 100%. He doesn't have to be champion, doesn't have to be Ron Simmons in WCW, but get him up in the mix.
I think that makes a ton of sense.
Okay. And as far as women, I think Mia Yim's the right play.
Yeah, if Keith Lee's going,
Well, and I honestly, you just said that, and I thought it after I said it. Well, yeah, that's the right play. But I thought Mia Yim for the women's division.
Yeah. Yeah, we shall see. I mean, I think that
sucks because Karrion Kross is so talented.
Yeah.
And he's got such a good look, and he can talk on the microphone. And even if his wife comes along or doesn't come along, this guy is a talent, and I just don't see it. You brought up a point before we came on the air that I want you to lead us to next. If it's not AEW, Matthew.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I'm paying money for a pay-per-view where I can see Karrion Kross take that Impact title off of Moose.
Wow.
Yeah,
so you think the big winner, your words before we went on the air, the big winner could be Impact.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think you're getting to a point, not necessarily budgetary reasons, but, here's the thing. If you look at the AEW formula right now, I mean, they want to showcase their big stars right now, Punk and Bryan Danielson. I mean, they're on almost every single TV show. They do. So you're showcasing the same people more consistently than AEW really has done prior to acquiring those two talents. So you're just going to run out of places to put them on TV, even if it's not a budgetary thing. So yeah, I think Impact could really be the one who profits big time from this.
Okay, well, wow, what a wild day. And Matthew, we didn't even get to talking about Rampage and SmackDown tonight. They're going to happen. What's going to happen on SmackDown, I have no idea, but I do want to reference real quick. We mockingly last week said, let's try to predict SmackDown. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
What we didn't predict was a really good segment between Shotzi, Sasha, and Charlotte.
Yeah.
What happens tonight?
I hope they keep building up this heel Shotzi. Like, that's got me intrigued.
Shotzi and Sasha, maybe green versus blue.
Yeah. Yep.
Roman going to show up to work today?
I don't know. That's a good question. You probably need to see him. More than a week away, man. I mean, that's your SmackDown star right there.
And then finally on Rampage, I'm very looking forward to Punk and Kingston face-to-face microphone.
Absolutely. No, they have they've sold me on this, man. I'm really excited about this. I think you could see a top tier promo here.
I don't want to steal Bully's stuff. On my way to therapy this morning, Busted Open Radio was on in the car. Bully made one of the best points I've heard in a long time. Eddie Kingston is the best thing going for CM Punk right now, because what Eddie Kingston's going to do is he's got street cred, right? He's not a face, he's not a heel. And he, if he can, will get up and put his nose right on CM Punk's face, and he will get in his face. Take Punk out of his comfort zone. I'm echoing the words of Bully from this morning. Take Punk out of his comfort zone, and let's see what Punk comes back with.
Well, it's a serious angle, and it's somebody that you take serious going up against Punk. I mean, you had the initial thing with Darby, but I mean, this is the first side of this Punk we've seen.
Because all we've seen is Punk winning, right? Winning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, at some point, I mean, he and Bryan Danielson, they've got to sustain a loss.
Yep. Well, hopefully for you, it's this Sunday, or excuse me, next Saturday.
Hopefully it's not.
What I did end up getting, though, speaking of PWR draft, I didn't know Miro was going to be on the pay-per-view until Dynamite. Look at that. Look who's got Miro for that match as well.
Oh man, we're going head to head.
That's right. All right. So next week Saturday is AEW's Full Gear live from Minneapolis, but next week Monday we'll be talking to the lovely Linda Kay, breaking down everything that happened on SmackDown and Rampage. And, what's going to happen on Raw? Because, we need to hear what Linda's got to say. So, for Matthew Thomas on the man they call Meathead, hey, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for listening all week. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're listening to, be it on Stitcher, be it on Spotify, be it on YouTube, Facebook, iTunes, wherever you're listening to us. Have a good one. So long, everyone.